Hi there, my name's Scott, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Trauma Team Racing. This is hopefully the first in a series of tutorials outlining the basics of simulated racing. I'm a beginner myself, and I've titled these, aptly named, A Beginner's Guide to Sim Racing for Beginners by a Beginner. A little bit of background about myself: I'm a trauma and orthopedic surgeon based here in the United Kingdom with an interest in medical education. I'm relatively new here on my sim racing journey and have been pulling bits of information from wherever I can, be that the internet or textbooks, etc. Hopefully this will be an amalgamation of all of them in hopefully easily digestible bite-sized chunks that you can consume in 8 to 10 minute goes that will give you the basics that will need you to just get on the track and hopefully get around in some kind of orderly fashion. So, if you wonder what a racing line is, what the hell an apex is and why you keep being told to hit it, you're in the right place. So sit back, relax, buckle up, class is in session. In this first session, we're going to be looking at the anatomy of a racing track and the principles behind cornering. We're going to go into this tutorial with 3 separate objectives. Firstly, what is the separate components that make up a racetrack? Number 2, what is a racing line and why is the racing line the racing line? And lastly, how is grip, speed and cornering all intimately connected, and how do we put all of these things together? This tutorial is going to be split into 2 separate components. Firstly, we're going to do a brief theoretical section, just with some diagrams, just to look at why the theory is the way it is and how we implement this out on track. The second segment will be a demonstration in Assetto Corsa Competizione, taking some of these principles and demoing them in real time. We'll look at some viewpoints from both in the cockpit and from an external camera in order to try and hopefully explain these principles we've just spoken about a little bit better. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The first diagram is a very simple representation of a racetrack. It's divided into essentially 2 different parts: straightaways and corners. The straightaways or straights are parts where you drive really fast and in a straight line, and the corners, as it would suggest, is where you corner and turn the car. Red lines are corners, blue lines are straights. Let's first look at one corner in detail. This is the corner outlined in orange. If we look at this next diagram, we're going to look at 2 different cars exiting the same corner at 2 different exit speeds. Increasing your exit speed out of a corner is one of the key instruments to getting faster around the race circuit. After the exit from the race corner, there's an acceleration zone and then a braking zone before the next corner. If the car constantly accelerated, it would more than likely fly straight into a brick wall, so you must bring the car's speed down in order to approach the next corner. We'll discuss braking zones at cornering a little later on in a further tutorial. The straights on a racetrack roughly approximate to about 70 to 80% of the total length, give or take for each given racetrack. Increasing your acceleration through these segments and maximizing your speed is key to getting your lap times down. The key is to spend as little time as possible on the straight. If we look at the car on the left with an exit speed from the first corner at 15 miles per hour, in comparison with the same car exiting at 20 miles per hour, let's say they both gain 100 miles per hour across the straight. By the time they hit the braking zone, which we'll cover later, the first car will hit it at 115 miles per hour, where the second car will hit it at 120 miles an hour. Overall, car number 2's time down the straight will be lower than car number 1. However, we can't approach a corner at 120 miles per hour because, as said before, this will lead to disaster. This leads us onto the concept of limit cornering. Limit cornering is essentially the maximum speed a car can travel to achieve 100% grip through the corner. If you exceed that grip, the car will then start to veer wide. This is a concept called understeer. To explain this more clearly, we're going to look at a diagram. If we draw a single circle and have a car travelling around it, for a given speed and a given grip for that car, it will travel around the circle perfectly. This is dictated by the circle's radius, labelled r in the diagram. For a single given speed, which will achieve 100% grip for that car, it will travel around the circle very happily. However, if you push that above the maximum speed for 100% grip, the car will start to veer, therefore increasing the radius of curvature, creating a bigger circle. It would make sense that for a bigger circle, the car can travel faster. And this is the key bit to understand when approaching corners, because if you can increase the curve of the circle, or the radius of curvature through the corner, then you will be faster. This might all seem a bit foreign, but stick with me, we'll put it on a racetrack and I'll explain it a little bit better. So, if we look at 2 separate cars travelling through the same corner using two separate curves, or radii of curvature, which is the radius of a circle and the curve travelled through it, we'll be able to explain how the green car travelling the green line is faster than the red car. If the red car travels up on the inside and keeps the corner fairly tight, his radius of curvature is very small, therefore his maximum speed for that given level of grip will also be low. However, if we look at the green car with a much bigger arc or radius of curvature, then his top speed for that level of grip, as in the limit of grip, will be much higher. Therefore, the exit speed of the green car is going to be significantly faster than that of the red car, and this is how you can pick up speed through corners. As I mentioned before, I'm just a beginner starting my journey, and I find this next exercise particularly helpful. So for any given racetrack, if you just draw it out, we'll use the simplified racetrack we used at the start, and then map out your corners, looking at what gives you the biggest radius of curvature, or biggest curve of the circle for each corner, and then plan where you need to be and your position on the track as you drive through it. So here we've marked out the curves of the corner which we're going to take in blue, giving us the biggest arc of motion, which means we can maximize our speed through the corner. The green arrows will be the acceleration points and the red arrows will be the braking points. At present we've just covered the concept for right-angled corners, and this doesn't cover how to take corners for hairpins, etc., but we'll be covering them in a much later tutorial. It's a bit of effort, but if you're new starting out, I find this particularly helpful. So what we'll do next is we'll get out on the track and we'll put some of this into motion.
Here we are at Brands Hatch, where we're going to be demonstrating some of the principles we've just been speaking about. So to start, we're going to choose a large radius of curvature. We're hitting the outside, coming in and hitting the apex on the inside and accelerating through, giving that large arc to the circle, which allows us to use that grip and the extra speed to accelerate through. Again, hitting the apex, accelerating through, coming to the outside of the track again, large radius of curvature, so we can increase our speed for the limit of the car's grip. Important to note is that I did mention before, the apex is defined as the point on the inside portion of a corner that a vehicle passes closest to, just in case you didn't know. Now what we'll do, let's look at that from an external camera. Now here, the same two corners again, but shown from an aerial view. We're coming to the outside of the track, braking slightly, turning in, hitting the apex and accelerating through. Again, we're using the whole width of the track to increase that radius of curvature, which allows us to increase our speed through the corner for the limit of the car's grip. Again, using that racing line, accelerating through, increasing that curvature of the circle, otherwise known as the radius of curvature, to maximize our speed for the car's given level of grip. Now let's see the same two corners, but this time we're going to take the inside line, decreasing the radius of curvature to the circle, accelerate through, same speed as before, and we significantly understeer and veer off course. Let's see that one more time. We'll take the inside of the track, decreasing our radius of curvature to the circle, same level of speed as before, trying to accelerate through, car can't keep up, we exceed its limit of grip and crash into a brick wall. Let's see that again from an aerial view. Now we're going to see an example of understeer by decreasing the radius of curvature to that circle. So we're coming on the inside, same level of speed, but we accelerate through and we understeer the car and it veers off. Again, let's see that one more time. We're going to approach the corner from the inside, same level of speed as before, accelerate through, and the car significantly understeers into a brick wall.
So hopefully we now have an understanding of why the racing line is the racing line, some of the components of a racetrack, and how to plan that journey around the racetrack according to the best racing line available. Hopefully by understanding why the racing line is the racing line will help you find it when planning your journey out on the racetrack. In our next tutorial we'll be expanding on this foundation, looking at how we can apply both acceleration, braking, and taking it to the limit of a car's cornering ability according to its grip, and how to maximize both our entry and exit speed out of the corners. Every corner isn't the same, so again, as we move through the tutorials, we'll be looking at how to apply these basic principles to different corners as we look at different circuits. This is just the start of a journey. We're a young YouTube channel, we being me. I've only just started, we've only got a few subscribers. If you like this content, please give us a like, really appreciate it. If you really like the content, give us a subscribe, and if you really like the content, hit that alert button. If you've got any suggestions, leave them in the comments below. And as always, stay safe. See you in the next one. Bye for now.